Have you ever felt the sting of defeat so sharp it leaves your chest raw and your limbs heavy, as if the world itself has conspired to remind you of your limits? That is failure harsh, immediate, unrelenting. It comes when you least expect it, in a misstep, a missed opportunity, a moment when everything you had prepared for seems to collapse. You stand at the edge of your own disappointment, staring at the wreckage of expectation and courage alike, and you ask the question you feared most: am I enough? You remember the countless moments you avoided risk, avoided choice, avoided the possibility of being wrong. Each time, fear had whispered, better safe than sorry. Don't step forward. Wait. And yet, now you are here, immersed in the very thing you feared most. Failure doesn't feel like a lesson at first. It feels like an ambush, like the universe laughing at your hubris. Your chest tightens, your stomach churns, and every thought in your mind repeats a litany of what went wrong. And yet, in the silence that follows the crash, you notice something subtle but undeniable. Your heartbeat continues, your lungs still fill with air, your eyes still see the world around you. Failure has arrived, but it has not killed you. This is your first revelation. The second comes quickly. The moment of falling is also the moment of learning. You can either remain trapped in shame, or you can extract the lesson, breathe through the pain, and rise anew. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a companion on the journey toward it. The day drifts forward, and so does the work of processing what has happened. You replay the event in your mind, dissecting each choice, each hesitation, each action that led here. The initial reaction of self-blame is fierce, but gradually a softer voice, the one you are learning to trust, emerges. What can I learn from this? What would I do differently? Where is the wisdom buried? You begin to see the cracks in your approach, the assumptions that were flawed, the moments when fear guided your hand more than insight did. You venture outside, the evening sun casting long shadows across the city. Each step is deliberate, measured, as if the act of walking itself is a declaration. I am here. I continue. I am not defeated. The world around you is indifferent to your stumble. Children laugh across the street. Cars move without pause. Leaves drift lazily in the breeze. And you notice something transformative. Failure has stripped away pretension, leaving raw truth. It hurts, yes, but it also clarifies. I am learning. I am growing. I am becoming stronger. The phone buzzes with messages you had been too hesitant to send before, ideas you had held back, conversations you had delayed. You realize the irony. Fear of failure had once immobilized you, and now that failure has come, action feels less daunting. The lesson is clear. Each failure is a teacher, if you are willing to listen. The mistakes, the embarrassments, the setbacks, they are no longer the enemy. They are the raw material of mastery, the stepping stones toward courage, toward self-belief. Night falls, and you find a quiet place to sit, the city lights sparkling like distant stars. You reflect on the events, on the tremor of disappointment that still lingers in your chest, and you speak aloud, almost to yourself. I failed. I felt the fear. I endured it. And I am still here. I am still capable. In this acknowledgement, the weight begins to lift, replaced by a steady, simmering determination. The lesson is indelible. Courage is forged in the heat of risk, not in the comfort of certainty. You remember Susan Jeffers' words echoing in your mind. The only way to get rid of fear is to go through it. You see now that failure is not something to be avoided, but a necessary companion on the journey to mastery, confidence, and freedom. Each mistake carries insight. Each stumble carries revelation. Each bruised moment carries the seed of growth. And the more you act, the more you fail. The more you trust yourself, the clearer the path becomes. And yet, even in this newfound understanding, you sense the horizon stretching beyond the night. Greater challenges loom, opportunities that demand more courage, decisions that require deeper trust, actions that carry heavier stakes. You feel the pulse of anticipation, the thrum of both fear and excitement. Failure has taught you, but the teacher is not finished. As you rise to leave, a subtle shiver runs through your body, the echo of lessons hard earned and still unfolding. You know now that the next moment of risk is coming, and with it, the chance to prove not to anyone else, but to yourself, that you can move beyond hesitation, beyond doubt, beyond the cage of fear. And as you step into the night, you hear it whisper, almost imperceptibly, the next challenge is waiting. Are you ready to meet it, to fail, to learn, and to rise again? Have you ever noticed how fear whispers in the quiet moments, soft but persistent, telling you to stay small, stay hidden, stay comfortable? You feel it pressing against your chest, tightening with every what if that enters your mind. And yet, somewhere beneath the tremor of doubt, a different voice exists. A voice quiet, steady, almost imperceptible at first, but full of power. The voice of courage. Today, that voice stirs. Today you will meet it. You wake before dawn, the world draped in a still, fragile gray. Your mind is alive with possibilities, but also with hesitation. The day ahead holds choices you have postponed, risks you avoided, actions you have feared. You stand at the edge of your own potential. The same old questions echoing. Am I ready? What if I fail? What if I am not enough? And as your thoughts swirl, you feel the pulse of life urging you forward, inviting you to step past fear. You remember Susan Jeffers' insight? Every action you take in the presence of fear increases your power. You realize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. You breathe deeply, feeling your lungs expand with resolve. For the first time in a long time, you feel the stirrings of something unfamiliar yet unmistakable, a quiet insistence that says, I am capable. I can do this. I will try anyway. The morning unfolds with both subtle and glaring challenges. A colleague asks for your input in a high-stakes meeting. A personal project demands commitment. A relationship calls for honesty you have avoided. Each situation carries the potential for embarrassment, for rejection, for failure. You feel the familiar pull of hesitation. Your heart races, your hands tighten, and yet the inner voice, the courage within remains. It is patient, waiting for you to claim it. Step forward. Speak. Act. Feel the fear. Do it anyway. You take the first step. Perhaps it is small. A word spoken in a conversation you would have normally avoided. A choice made without perfect certainty. A commitment embraced despite lingering doubt. The moment is electric. You notice the tension in your body, the way your chest still rises with anxiety, but also the subtle surge of power that accompanies action. Fear and courage are no longer enemies. They are companions, coexisting as you move forward. As the day progresses, challenges multiply. There are setbacks, missteps, and moments that threaten to pull you back into hesitation. You stumble over words, a project falters, expectations feel heavy. The instinct is to retreat, to let fear reclaim its dominance. But you remember the lessons of prior chapters. Overthinking is a trap. Failure is a teacher. Trust is a compass. And now courage is a muscle you can flex. You take another step, then another, until momentum grows. One brave action leads to another. By afternoon, the rhythm of courage becomes tangible. You see how small acts compound, how each decision made in alignment with your inner voice builds confidence. It is not reckless confidence, but the steady, grounded understanding that you can face fear and emerge intact. You realize that fear is inevitable, but your response is yours to choose. You have learned to pause, to listen to the inner voice, to act despite doubt. Each choice strengthens the connection to the courage that has always been within you. Evening descends, painting the sky with deep oranges and purples, a reminder of both endings and beginnings. You reflect on the day's moments of hesitation, action, and triumph. Each failure, each misstep, each brave act has shaped the narrative of your courage. You notice a pattern. Courage is not a singular event, but a daily practice, a series of decisions to act in alignment with your values, your voice, your truth. Fear still knocks, but the door no longer swings open automatically. You answer it intentionally. In the quiet of the night, you sit and breathe, feeling the tension of the day ease. The inner voice, the courage within, hums softly like a steady flame, warming the edges of doubt. You sense that this is only the beginning. Greater challenges await, decisions that will demand even deeper trust, risks that require full surrender to the unknown. And yet, there is exhilaration in this knowledge. You now know the power that lies within you. Fear will arise, doubt will knock, but courage will always be available to guide you. A subtle whisper threads through your awareness, almost like a question from your own soul. Will you continue to step forward, even when fear rises higher than ever? Will you keep trusting the inner voice that has brought you this far? You feel a shiver of anticipation, a thrill of possibility, knowing the answer lies in action, not in hesitation. You rise from your quiet reflection with a newfound determination, feeling the weight of fear balanced by the strength of courage. Tomorrow, the world will demand more. You will be tested again, pushed further, challenged in ways you cannot yet see. But tonight, you rest with a quiet confidence. The courage you sought was never outside of you. It was always inside, waiting for recognition, waiting for practice, waiting for you to step into it. And now, you have begun that journey. A shadow of what is to come falls across the horizon, the next challenge approaching with silent insistence. You hear it, you feel it, and your heart beats in answer. The courage within is awake. The fear is present, and the choice is yours. Will you step forward again and again until fear becomes the rhythm of your growth rather than the chain of your hesitation? The journey continues, the night deepens, and in the quiet of your room, you feel the pulse of possibility echoing through every fiber of your being, whispering that the courage within will guide you if you dare to listen, if you dare to act, if you dare to live fully, fear and all. Have you ever felt trapped in a web of your own thoughts? Every thread a what if, every turn a dead end of worry? You lie awake at night, the shadows of possibilities pressing against your mind. What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I embarrass myself? The questions are relentless, echoing through your chest like a storm of invisible chains. And yet, deep within, you feel the faint pulse of rebellion, a whisper that says, you don't have to live like this. You can break free. The morning light seeps through the blinds, hesitant and gray, illuminating your cluttered desk, the open books, and scattered notes that reflect a mind at war with itself. You reach for your notebook and pen, not to plan, not to schedule, but to confront the questions that have been haunting you one by one. You write them down, each what if, a specter that has been holding you hostage. As the ink spreads across the page, you feel a strange clarity. To name the fear is to face it. You step outside, the air crisp, carrying the faint scent of possibility. The city hums with motion, people rushing, buses screeching, lives unfolding without pause. And here you are, caught between hesitation and courage, between the pull of inaction and the lure of possibility. Susan Jeffers' words echo in your mind. The only way to move through fear is to feel it, embrace it, and act anyway. You realize that the chains of what if exist only as long as you give them power. The day presents opportunities that test this realization, a chance to speak up in class, to volunteer for a project, to ask a question that could shift your understanding. Your stomach twists with anxiety. The what ifs flood back. What if I sound foolish? What if I fail? What if I am judged? Your legs feel heavy, as if the floor itself conspires to keep you rooted in fear. But you remember, every action, however small, chips away at the weight of doubt. You inhale, feeling the tension rise and fall like ocean waves, and step forward anyway. The first act is awkward, trembling, imperfect. Words stumble out, thoughts scatter, and yet the response is not disaster. It is small, almost imperceptible, but significant. A nod, a smile, a spark of recognition that you dared to act despite fear. The chains loosen. Each what if is challenged by evidence, by reality, by the simple fact that you took the step. Courage begins to form not as a grand cinematic explosion, but as a quiet, persistent rhythm. Act, learn, move forward. Afternoon arrives with new tests. A study group demands your input. A personal project requires initiative. Your heart pounds with the familiar fear. What if I can't do this? What if I disappoint everyone? The mind wants to retreat into safety, to hide, to imagine failure before it even arrives. But you feel a shift. The questions are no longer commands. They are invitations to see the truth. You breathe, grounding yourself in the reality that every successful person you admire faced the same uncertainties. Every leap forward has been preceded by fear. You try a new approach. Instead of imagining worst case scenarios, you ask, what if I succeed? What if I learn? What if I surprise myself? The difference is subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but it changes everything. Suddenly, fear is not a wall, but a threshold. The what ifs no longer paralyze you. They illuminate the stakes, clarify the choices, and remind you that action is the path to growth. You take notes, outline strategies, and commit to the first step. Evening descends, painting the sky with dusky oranges and muted purples. You sit quietly, reflecting on the day's moments of hesitation and triumph. You feel the fatigue of facing fear, but also the quiet exhilaration of moving despite it. Susan Jeffers' insight resonates deeper than ever. When you feel the fear and do it anyway, the fear loses its grip. You realize that what if is not a sentence. It is a challenge to be met, a rope to be untied, a chain to be broken. And yet, just as the night grows calm, you sense the next hurdle approaching. The mind, ever restless, whispers, tomorrow will be harder. Tomorrow the fear will be louder. What if you fail again? But this time, you are different. The day's actions have reshaped your relationship with fear. You no longer tremble at its presence. You greet it as a teacher, a companion, a signal that you are stretching beyond your comfort zone. You feel the pulse of readiness, the quiet strength that comes from having broken a few links in the chains of what if. You rise, walking to the window, looking out at the city lights. Each one feels like a possibility, a story unfolding. You know tomorrow will bring more fear, more uncertainty, more questions, but you also know this. Each time you act despite the fear, you grow stronger, more capable, more confident in the voice that has been inside you all along. Courage is no longer a distant ideal. It is a choice, a rhythm, a companion on every step of the journey. And as you close your eyes, the whisper comes again, softer now, tinged with excitement. Will you keep stepping forward, even when the what ifs loom larger than ever? Will you continue to act, to trust, to believe in yourself? The chains are weaker, but the next challenge awaits. You feel it in your chest, the thrill of possibility, the quiet power of choice, the deep, transformative understanding that fear is not the enemy, it is the invitation to become unstoppable. The night holds its breath, and so do you. Have you ever looked at a mountain and felt too small to climb it, as if each step you take would vanish under the enormity of the challenge? You sit at your desk, staring at a blank page, a mountain of assignments, and a mind buzzing with doubts. Where do I even start? What if I fail? What if it all goes wrong? The fear presses against your chest like a weight you cannot lift, and for a moment you consider giving up before you even begin. But then a quiet thought surfaces, a whisper you almost ignore. What if you start with just one small action? The idea is almost laughably simple. One step, one choice, one move forward, and yet it is revolutionary. You pick up a pen, you write a single sentence, you check one box on a to-do list, and suddenly momentum begins, almost imperceptibly, like the first stirrings of a river before it becomes a torrent. The day unfolds, each task looming like a cliff edge. Your mind protests. You can't do it all. You'll collapse under the pressure. But you remember the lesson of small actions. You divide the work into tiny, achievable steps. You focus not on the enormity of the mountain, but on placing one foot in front of the other. With each completed task, no matter how minor, a spark of confidence ignites in your chest. You begin to feel, slowly, that fear is not a wall. It is a call to act. As you move through the morning, the ripple effect begins. You email a professor, organize your notes, set reminders for projects. Each act seems trivial in isolation, but together they form a rhythm, a cadence of progress that your mind recognizes as power. The fear does not vanish entirely. It lurks at the edges, but its grip loosens. You realize that courage is not a single heroic leap. It is the accumulation of small, deliberate steps taken despite uncertainty. Midday brings a test of will. A friend calls, inviting you to abandon work for leisure. Your mind floods with excuses. I'll just rest for a moment, then I'll get back to it. You hesitate, balancing desire against discipline. Then you remember the principle: small actions compound. You can allow yourself a short pause, but you return, pen in hand, ready to chip away at the mountain. Each small action reinforces the idea that progress is possible, that the fear of failure can be countered by doing, by moving, by acting with intention. Afternoon deepens into a haze of assignments and readings. The fear tries to creep back. You're not capable. You're too slow. Others are ahead of you. Your mind wants to freeze, to ruminate endlessly on what ifs, but you push forward, one paragraph at a time, one problem at a time. And gradually, the enormity diminishes. The mountain is still there, but it is no longer insurmountable. Each small action has built a staircase, one step after another, leading upward. You begin to notice something profound. Momentum has a life of its own. Once you move, even slightly, the mind begins to follow. The fear of beginning fades as the body acts. The what-ifs lose their power when confronted with real, tangible progress. You see that your fear is often an illusion, magnified in the absence of action. In the presence of even the smallest act, it diminishes. Courage, you realize, is a muscle strengthened by repetition, by the consistent choice to move forward despite discomfort. Evening arrives, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. You look back at the day, at the list of completed tasks, the notes written, the small victories accumulated. The mountain still exists, but it no longer feels like an impossible obstacle. You have learned the quiet truth Susan Jeffers emphasizes. Each step, no matter how small, is a victory against fear. Progress is not always dramatic. Often it is incremental, almost invisible. Yet these increments, repeated with patience and persistence, shape the landscape of your life. As you prepare for the night, another challenge surfaces, one that you cannot yet see clearly. A bigger test, a more daunting project, a situation that threatens to shake the confidence you have built. The fear of the unknown rises, whispering, "It will overwhelm you. You are not ready." But this time, you meet it with a new understanding. Small actions have taught you resilience. Each step has been proof that you are capable. The chain of doubt may still rattle, but it no longer controls you. You have discovered a weapon that fear cannot fully silence: deliberate, consistent action. And as you close your notebook, feeling both exhaustion and triumph, you sense the next lesson on the horizon. The momentum you have built will be tested, stretched, and challenged. But now you know the secret. Courage is not a grand gesture. It is a series of small choices, a relentless series of steps forward, even when the path is unclear, even when the fear looms large. You lie awake that night, heart still thrumming with anticipation. The mountain remains shadowed and imposing. But you also know this: each small action has shifted the balance. Tomorrow, another step will be taken, another fear confronted, another chain broken. The journey is far from over, but now momentum carries you. The mountain is no longer a wall. It is a challenge you are beginning to climb, one step at a time, and just before sleep claims you, the whisper comes again. Will you take the next small action, even when it scares you? Will you trust the process, trust yourself, and keep moving forward? The answer is in your hands, in your choices, and the courage of a single, deliberate step. The mountain waits, and so does your transformation. Jeffers, have you ever stood at the edge of a darkened path, staring into the uncertainty of what lies ahead, heart pounding, mind screaming with what ifs? You feel the familiar grip of hesitation, the weight of every possible failure pressing against your chest, as if the universe itself conspires to keep you in place. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I can't handle it? What if I regret this forever? The questions whirl like a storm, and yet, somewhere beneath the swirl of fear, you sense a faint spark, the quiet, insistent pulse that whispers, "This is your moment. You must move." The morning air carries a crisp chill, brushing against your skin as you step outside. The city hums with life around you, people moving confidently, seemingly unfazed by the same fears that weigh on your shoulders. And here you are, frozen for just a heartbeat, caught between the safety of routine and the terror of the unknown. But the memory of yesterday's small victories flashes in your mind, each step forward a proof of possibility. You inhale deeply, grounding yourself, and take the first step. The first moments are awkward, your body tense with caution. Each footfall on the unfamiliar street, each glance at the uncertain horizon, is an act of defiance against the paralysis of overthinking. You remember Susan Jeffers' words? The only way to get rid of the fear of doing something is to go out and do it. You feel the fear like a physical weight in your chest, but with every step, it loosens slightly. The unknown is still terrifying, but it no longer feels like a wall. It begins to feel like a doorway. You encounter small challenges immediately, a conversation with someone unfamiliar, a choice that requires decisiveness, a problem that doesn't have an obvious solution. Your mind wants to retreat, to calculate every angle, to wait for certainty that will never come. But you choose action over paralysis. You speak first, you make a decision, you try, knowing full well that mistakes are inevitable. And with each action, the fear shifts. It becomes less of a cage and more of a guide, showing you where growth lies. As the day progresses, the unknown expands. A project you cannot predict, a responsibility you have never carried, a risk that seems immense all press against you. You feel the familiar whirl of doubt. I'm not ready. I'm not capable. I'll fail. And yet, you act anyway. You take the next step, then the next, and slowly, the path begins to reveal itself. It is uneven, unpredictable, sometimes harsh, but it is real. You realize that the unknown is not something to be conquered. It is something to be experienced, something to step into fully, with courage as your companion. Evening falls, the city lights flickering like distant stars. You pause for a moment, reflecting on the steps you've taken. The unknown has not swallowed you. Instead, it has taught you that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. Each choice, each small action has built a bridge across the chasm of uncertainty. You feel the subtle shift in yourself, confidence emerging not from guaranteed success, but from the knowledge that you can handle whatever comes, because you have acted despite fear. But just as calm seems to settle, the whisper returns. Tomorrow, the unknown will be larger. You will be tested in ways you cannot yet imagine, and you know it is true. There will be moments when doubt will claw at your resolve, when fear will feel insurmountable, when the next step will feel like stepping off a cliff. Yet now, you carry a new understanding. The unknown is no longer a threat. It is an invitation, a proving ground, a space where the courage you cultivate today will determine the strength you carry into tomorrow. You walk home slowly, each step deliberate, feeling the tension in your muscles ease slightly with each passing moment. The day has been exhausting, emotionally and mentally, but it has been transformative. You see that overthinking loses its power when met with action. You feel the quiet thrill of possibility, the exhilarating mix of fear and freedom that comes from stepping into the unknown. And as you close your eyes that night, A thought lingers at the edges of your mind. Will you continue to step forward even when the path is unclear? Will you trust yourself enough to act when certainty is absent? The answer feels alive in your chest, steady and insistent. The unknown awaits, and so do you. Tomorrow you will rise again, ready to face it, not perfectly, not with all the answers, but with the courage to keep moving. For in the act of stepping into the unknown, you discover that your own strength has been waiting there all along, quietly, patiently, ready to carry you through whatever comes next. The darkness outside your window seems less threatening now, less like an abyss and more like a stage. The next challenge is coming, as it always does, and you are beginning to feel the thrill of possibility, the surge of confidence, the quiet joy of knowing that fear is no longer a jailer. It is a guide, urging you forward into the life you are meant to live. Have you ever looked in the mirror and doubted the person staring back at you? The reflection feels like a stranger whose voice is harsh, critical, and relentless. You're not enough. You'll fail. You're not capable. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in, as if your own thoughts have trapped you inside an invisible cage. And yet, beneath that fear, beneath that doubt, there is a whisper quiet, fragile, almost drowned out by the roar of uncertainty, but it persists. You are capable. You can do this. You awaken to another day weighed down by hesitation, the memory of yesterday's fears clinging to your skin like morning dew. Every choice feels monumental. Every step feels precarious. You move through your routine mechanically, your mind racing with possibilities, contingencies, and what ifs. Your own voice questions every decision before it even leaves your lips. Why try if I'll just fail? Why speak if I'll just be ignored? The world outside goes on, unaware of the storm inside you, the internal battle between self-doubt and the faint stirrings of belief. And then it hits you, an opportunity, small yet enormous, demanding a response. Perhaps it's a conversation you've avoided, a task you've postponed, a challenge you've skirted for fear of inadequacy. You freeze, heart hammering, palms clammy. The old reflex rises, that instinct to shrink, to overthink, to wait for permission that will never come. But something inside pushes back, a gentle but insistent nudge. You can, you must, trust yourself. The first step is always the hardest. You take a deep breath, feeling it tremble through your chest. You remember Susan Jeffers' words, you can feel the fear and do it anyway. It's not about the absence of fear. It's about moving forward despite it. You speak your truth, make your move, act before the doubts can paralyze you. And in that instant, a subtle transformation occurs. The weight of indecision lifts slightly. The world does not collapse. You are still standing. You are still capable. The hours that follow are a lesson in resilience. Each choice you make, each action you take is a step toward believing in yourself. You stumble. Of course, you will always stumble. Words are misspoken, actions miscalculated, expectations unmet. And yet, with each stumble, you feel the faint pulse of possibility. Even if I fail, I can recover. Even if I stumble, I can continue. Overthinking loses its power when met with deliberate action. Confidence is built not on certainty, but on the courage to face uncertainty and keep moving forward. The day unfolds like a series of challenges designed to test your newfound resolve. You navigate tense conversations, uncertain outcomes, and decisions that seem larger than your capacity to handle them. Each time doubt rises, you pause not to ruminate, but to remind yourself of what you already know. You have handled challenges before, you have survived fear, and you are capable of more than your mind wants to admit. Trust yourself, you whisper silently, feeling the mantra echo through your veins, warming your resolve. By evening, exhaustion settles over you, heavy but not suffocating. You reflect on the steps you've taken, each small victory adding weight to the belief that has been growing quietly inside you. Fear no longer feels like an enemy, it feels like a companion, a signal that you are stepping beyond your comfort zone. You notice a new rhythm in your movements, a steadiness in your voice, a certainty that arises not from external validation, but from internal acknowledgement. I am enough. I am capable. I can trust myself. And yet, the journey is far from over. You know the next day will bring its own challenges, its own doubts, its own moments when the old voice will scream louder than your quiet inner strength. But now, there is a difference. You carry a proof of possibility. You have felt the fear and acted anyway. You have trusted yourself, if only for small moments, and each moment becomes a stepping stone toward lasting belief. As night falls, you find a quiet place to sit, alone with your thoughts. The room is dark, shadows stretching across the walls, but you feel a light inside, steady and unwavering. You remember the voice that has been guiding you all along. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the willingness to act despite it. You realize that self-belief is like a muscle. It strengthens each time it is exercised, each time it is challenged, each time you take action without waiting for perfection. The chapter of today ends, but tomorrow's challenges await. Opportunities will present themselves that test every ounce of the courage and belief you have begun to cultivate. And you will be ready. You will act, stumble, rise, and act again. Because now you carry something far more powerful than fear, the undeniable knowledge that within you lies the ability to trust yourself, to step forward, to face the unknown, and to live boldly. And as your eyes close for the night, a question lingers, both terrifying and exhilarating. Will you continue to believe in yourself when the world doubts you, when your mind screams otherwise? Will you step forward into each new challenge with a quiet, unwavering faith that you are capable? The answer is there, beating within your chest, waiting for you to rise again, ready to prove it once more. Tomorrow, the unknown awaits. But this time, you do not step into it as someone hesitant and unsure. You step as someone who has begun to trust themselves, someone who has begun to feel the power of belief coursing through their veins, someone who knows that even in the face of fear, action and faith are stronger than doubt. Have you ever felt the world pause, holding its breath as if it too waits for you to decide who you will be? The air is thick, almost tangible, heavy with anticipation and the silent hum of possibility. You stand at the edge of a choice that matters, not just a small decision in a long day, but a turning point, a crossroads where the version of yourself that doubts, hesitates, and overthinks collides with the version of yourself that acts, believes, and steps forward. You feel it immediately, the familiar tightening in your chest, the tremor in your hands, the rush of thoughts cascading like a storm. What if I fail? What if I make the wrong move? What if I'm not ready? The questions are endless, looping through your mind like a relentless echo chamber. Every fear you have ever felt in your life gathers here, pressuring you, trying to pull you back into the comfort of hesitation. But beneath it, beneath that chaos, there is a quiet, insistent pulse, the steady rhythm of possibility whispering, you can, you must, now is the moment. The room around you fades into the background, the hum of voices, the ticking of clocks, the distant sounds of life. None of it matters. All that exists is the choice before you. You feel the weight of years of overthinking, of doubt, of endless what ifs, and it threatens to crush you. And yet, in the midst of it, you recall the lessons you've been learning, piece by piece, chapter by chapter. Each small action, each time you felt the fear and moved forward anyway, each time you trusted yourself even when the world told you not to, those moments have led you here. They've prepared you for this. Your mind wants to retreat. It's too risky. You're not ready. Wait, but you push back, grounding yourself in the knowledge that action, not hesitation, builds courage. You take a deep breath, feeling the air fill your lungs like armor. You feel your body, your mind, your spirit align for this single, crucial step. You remember Jeffers' words? The only way to overcome fear is to act in its presence. And so you step, one foot in front of the other. Every nerve in your body is alert. Your heart pounds, your thoughts scream, but you move, you act, you speak, you do the thing that your overthinking self has been avoiding, and the world does not collapse. In fact, it shifts slightly, subtly, in response to your courage. You realize that the fear you carried was never an enemy to destroy you. It was a signal, a compass pointing toward growth, toward transformation. With each word you speak, each decision you make, each step you take forward, the fog begins to lift. You begin to see clearly, not just the path ahead, but yourself, fully capable, fully alive, fully present. You notice the power in your own voice, the strength in your own hands, the clarity in your own mind. You understand, in a visceral way, that belief in yourself is not a distant ideal. It is a practice, a series of moments, a choice you make again and again. And yet, the moment is not without struggle. Doubts rise again. Unexpected challenges test your resolve, and the familiar inner critic whispers, louder than before, "Are you sure? Can you really do this?" But now you have proof. Proof in the choices you've made, the actions you've taken, the fears you've faced. You acknowledge the voice, but you do not obey it. You move forward anyway, each step an assertion of your ability to trust yourself, to act despite fear, to live courageously. Time stretches and contracts, seconds becoming hours, hours stretching like eternity. Every interaction, every decision feels amplified, charged with meaning. You begin to sense the profound truth that Jeffers illuminates. Fear will never disappear, but it does not have to control you. You feel a surge of liberation, of empowerment, as if chains you didn't even realize were holding. You have fallen away. The overthinking, the paralysis, the what ifs no longer dominate your actions. They are now mere background noise to your purposeful movement. And then comes the realization, sudden and brilliant. Your life is not defined by the absence of fear, but by the presence of action in spite of it. Each choice you make now carries the weight of that understanding. Each step forward is a declaration: I am capable, I am courageous, I believe in myself. You feel it in your bones, in your heart, in the quiet center of your mind. The seed of transformation has fully taken root. As the day ends, as the sun dips below the horizon and the world grows quiet around you, you recognize the moment for what it truly is: the threshold. You have crossed it, but the journey is not complete. Fear will return, doubts will resurface, and overthinking will try to reclaim its hold. But now you carry something indestructible: the knowledge that you can face it, meet it, and move forward anyway. That courage, that trust, that belief in yourself is yours to wield at every moment, every choice, every challenge. And in the stillness, as your mind finally rests, a question lingers, both terrifying and exhilarating. When the next moment of truth arrives, will you step forward again? Will you act even when fear is loud and certainty is absent? Will you trust yourself enough to keep moving? The answer beats within your chest, steady and unyielding, and you know, without a doubt, that when the next challenge comes, you will rise, you will act, you will believe. The moment has passed, but its echo remains. You are not the same as you were before you faced it. You have glimpsed the power within, and it is only a matter of time before the next opportunity arrives to test it. The story is far from over, and yet the seed of transformation has grown, strong and unwavering, ready to carry you into whatever comes next. The horizon stretches before you, vast and uncharted. The next challenge is coming, and this time you are ready, not despite the fear, but because of it. Because you have felt it, faced it, and acted anyway. You have stepped into your own power, and nothing can take it from you. Have you ever felt a moment when the world seems to hold its breath, waiting to see what you will do? The air is electric, as if even the wind leans in to watch your next step. You feel it in your chest, that mixture of fear and anticipation, the tightness of doubt mingling with the flutter of possibility. This is the moment, the point where everything you've learned, every lesson, every struggle, Every step forward collides into one decisive instant. Your mind races, replaying every what if, every failure, every fear you have ever felt. What if I stumble? What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? The questions spin, dizzying, relentless, pulling at your resolve. But beneath the storm, beneath the cacophony of overthinking, there is a whisper small, steady, almost imperceptible, yet insistent. Do it anyway. Move forward. Act. That whisper has been there all along, buried under layers of hesitation. But now it rises, clear and commanding. You feel your body tighten, your palms slick with sweat, your heartbeat hammering like a drum. Every instinct urges you to retreat, to hide in the safety of inaction. But you remember the path that brought you here, the countless times you faced fear and acted, even when your mind screamed to stop. The moments when you trusted yourself and discovered strength you never knew existed. You inhale deeply, letting the air fill your lungs, grounding yourself. This is the culmination. This is your moment of victory. The world around you sharpens. You notice the details you never paid attention to, the subtle sway of the trees, the distant hum of life, the golden light brushing the edges of the horizon. Everything feels heightened, as if life itself is amplifying this instant. And then, slowly, deliberately, you step forward. Each movement carries weight, purpose, and intent. Action replaces hesitation. Courage replaces doubt. And with each step, you feel the power of your own resolve, the strength that comes from trusting yourself. Your thoughts are still present, of course. What if I fail? What if I make a mistake? But now, the fear is no longer a cage's fuel. You act in spite of it. You speak, you move, you decide, and the world responds. Each action resonates, ripples outward, shaping the reality around you. You feel a surge of exhilaration as you realize that victory is not a distant goal or a reward to be earned. Later, it is happening now, in every choice, in every courageous step you take. And yet, the journey is not over. Challenges arise, unexpected and daunting, testing the very core of your newfound confidence. Doubts threaten to creep back in, whispers of you can't or this isn't enough. But you meet them head on, not with anger, not with resistance, but with calm awareness. You know fear is not your enemy, it is your guide, signaling where growth is waiting. You lean into it, feel it, acknowledge it, and continue moving. Every act of courage, no matter how small, builds momentum, transforming hesitation into strength. The principle Susan Jeffers emphasizes becomes alive in your bones. Feel the fear and do it anyway. You have done it countless times, yes, but now the truth crystallizes. You are no longer a person controlled by fear. You are someone who acts, who chooses, who creates reality through deliberate motion. The victory is not just external, it is internal, a profound recognition that you possess the power to shape your life through action. No matter how uncertain the path ahead may seem, time bends around you. The world seems to expand and contract in sync with your breathing, your heartbeat, your movement. Every small success, every courageous step adds weight to your momentum. You feel the thrill of mastery, not mastery over the world, but mastery over yourself, over the doubts and fears that once dictated your every choice. The voice that once whispered hesitation now echoes a new truth. I can, I will, I am capable. And yet, in this triumph, you recognize the responsibility that comes with it. The victory is not a final destination. It is a practice, a continuous commitment to act, even when fear, uncertainty, or doubt appears. Every decision, every interaction, every choice is an opportunity to exercise courage, to reinforce the belief in yourself that has carried you this far. You realize that the journey of transformation is not linear. It is cyclical, a constant return to action in the presence of fear, a dance between hesitation and courage, doubt and determination. As the day turns into evening, the golden light fading into shadow, you reflect on how far you've come. You have faced the internal voices that once controlled you, confronted the paralysis of overthinking, and emerged victorious. And yet, In the quiet, you sense another challenge looming, not as a threat, but as an invitation. The next moment, the next choice, the next leap of faith. The story is not complete. It will never be. But now you are equipped, armed with the certainty that action, taken in the face of fear, is the path to power, fulfillment, and self-belief. And as you stand there on the precipice of what comes next, you feel it, the quiet, unstoppable momentum of a life lived courageously. You understand now that victory is not a distant finish line. It is the sum of every step, every act of courage, every choice made despite fear. It is here in your hands, in your heart, in the pulse of your own determination. You are living proof that fear is not a wall, but a doorway, and you have stepped through. The horizon stretches ahead, infinite and unknowable. Challenges will come, fears will return, doubts will whisper, but you have discovered the truth. The only way to be defeated is to stop acting, and you will not stop. You will continue, one courageous step at a time, shaping your life, shaping yourself, and inspiring others without even realizing it. Victory is not a moment, it is a habit. It is the rhythm of your existence. And in the silence after action, in the calm that follows decisive movement, a question hovers in the air, electric and alive. Now that you know you can act in spite of fear, what will you do next? The answer beats within you, strong, steady, unstoppable. And you know, without a shadow of doubt, that whatever comes next, you are ready. The journey continues, and with it, the endless exhilarating power of believing in yourself. Have you ever felt the quiet after a storm, when the air is still, but you know the clouds will always return? You stand at the edge of what feels like a summit, a place where all the battles of your mind and heart converge. Your chest heaves, not from exhaustion, but from exhilaration, from the sheer intensity of having acted, even when fear pulsed through every fiber of your being, and yet, deep inside, you sense the truth. This is not the end. This is a pause, a moment of clarity before the next ascent. The journey does not stop, it flows endlessly, like a river carving its way through the landscape of your life. You look back and see the path you've traveled. There are moments, etched into memory days, when doubt threatened to paralyze you. Nights when overthinking wrapped around you like chains. Times when every instinct screamed retreat. You remember the cage of thoughts, the whisper of courage, the first leaps into the unknown. You feel again the voice of self-doubt, the paralyzing questions, the fear that threatened to stall your every step. But now, the reflection of all these moments reveals something profound. You moved anyway. You acted. You lived. The wind brushes your face, cool and steady, carrying with it the sense of possibility, the sharp tang of challenge, the sweet perfume of victory, and the earthy weight of experience. The world seems immense, infinite, alive with opportunity, and yet you feel centered, grounded in the simple yet monumental truth. Courage is not a destination. It is a way of moving through life. It is a rhythm, a constant practice, a deliberate choice to act in spite of fear. You feel a smile curve across your lips as realization sinks in. Every action you take is a victory. Every choice is a testament to your strength. Every moment of fear faced and moved through reinforces the truth of your capability. You are no longer a passive observer of your life. You are the creator, the actor, the force that shapes experience into meaning. And yet, you know the next challenge waits, not as an enemy, but as an invitation, a chance to continue, to grow, to push beyond limits you once imagined unbreakable. Your mind drifts to the lessons you've embraced along this journey. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Trust your inner voice. Small steps create unstoppable momentum. Each concept no longer exists as a theory or a line in a book. They are alive, embedded in the rhythm of your actions, the cadence of your breathing, the steady beat of your heart. They echo in every choice you make, every interaction you have, every dream you dare to pursue. The wisdom is no longer external. It is woven into you, inseparable from your being. Yet, even as you feel this mastery, a subtle tension remains. Life is not static. Fear will return. Overthinking will whisper its insidious questions. Doubt will creep into moments of vulnerability. But you no longer fear these things because you understand their true nature. They are not roadblocks. They are signposts, markers of growth, reminders that the path of courage is infinite. Each time you act, each time you choose, each time you step forward, you write a new chapter, not just for yourself, but for anyone who witnesses your journey, even unknowingly. The landscape around you begins to shift. The horizon glows with the first hints of dawn, colors spreading across the sky like a promise. You feel the weight of the past lift, replaced by anticipation, readiness, and quiet joy. You remember Susan Jeffers' words: "The only way to feel truly secure is to face your fears and do it anyway." And now, you do more than feel them. You live them, embody them, let them guide you without controlling you. You are no longer trapped by indecision. You move with intention, propelled by action, defined by courage. You take a step forward, and then another, feeling the power of momentum. Each motion reinforces a profound truth. Life is not about the absence of fear, but about what you choose to do with it. You carry the wisdom of countless moments, of triumphs both large and small, into every heartbeat, every breath, every choice. You realize that victory is not a finite prize, but an ongoing practice. And with that, an exhilarating freedom blooms within you, the freedom to act, to grow, to create, to live fully. Even as the sun rises, painting the world in gold and crimson, you understand that the journey ahead is limitless. There will always be uncertainty, always be risk, always be challenges that demand courage. And yet, you feel a serene power. You will meet each one. You will act. You will choose. You will continue forward because action is the source of strength.